Someone bought it as a pet. That is where this starts. Not in the Everglades, not in a government report about invasive species. In a glass tank somewhere in suburban Florida with a heat lamp overhead and frozen mice defrosting on a kitchen counter. The snake was calm, slow, almost polite. It coiled in the corner and waited because that is what it does. That is the only thing it has ever needed to do. And then, at some point, because it grew too large, or because the owner lost interest, or because a hurricane came through and broke the walls of a breeding facility, it went into the swamp. And the swamp received it the way the swamp receives everything. Silently, without ceremony, without any indication that anything had changed. By the time people started looking, the mammals were already disappearing. The Burmese python is not a dramatic animal. It does not chase, it does not roar, it does not patrol. It finds a position, underwater, under brush, beneath the surface of a sawgrass flat, and it stays there. It breathes. It waits. Its heat-sensing pits map the warm shapes of animals moving through the dark, and when something comes close enough, the ambush is not spectacular. It is simply very fast and then very still. The teeth curve backward. That detail matters. Anything that moves away from a Burmese python's mouth drives itself deeper onto those teeth. Escape requires moving toward the snake's throat, and almost nothing does that voluntarily. What follows is not strangulation in the way most people imagine it. The coils tighten in response to each exhale. The prey's chest cannot expand for the next breath. The blood pressure in the heart drops. It is efficient in a way that has nothing to do with cruelty and everything to do with physics. Then comes the swallowing. The jaw does not unhinge the way people often imagine. Instead, the bones and ligaments in the skull move with disturbing flexibility, widening the mouth far beyond what the head seems built to allow. The throat expands. The body waits. A deer, a great blue heron, in documented cases, an American alligator. The snake does not rush this part either. It has nowhere to be. In its native range, across Southeast Asia, from Burma through Thailand and into Indonesia, this biology exists inside a system that knows what it is. Prey populations evolved alongside it. Predators that could challenge adults were present. The snake was formidable, but contained, not by force, but by the accumulated weight of millions of years of ecological pressure. Florida had none of that. Florida was a door left open. The American exotic pet trade built a pipeline. Through the 1980s and into the 1990s, Burmese pythons were imported by the tens of thousands. They were sold in pet shops and reptile expos, advertised as manageable, impressive, worth the price. Baby pythons are docile and fit easily in the hand. They are also among the fastest-growing snakes on the planet. Under the right conditions, a young python can become a 10-foot animal within only a few years. The adults are a different problem entirely. Animals that can exceed 15 feet, weigh over 100 pounds, and require serious infrastructure just to handle safely. People released them. Some did it deliberately when the snake outgrew the apartment. Some lost them in escapes. Some kept breeding animals in outdoor facilities and found, after Hurricane Andrew tore through South Florida in 1992, that the walls were not there anymore. The full contribution of that storm is still debated, and it should not be overclaimed. The pet trade opened the door long before any hurricane, but what Andrew may have done is widened it dramatically, suddenly, in a landscape that was already filling with animals that had no business being there. However they arrived in the right place for the wrong reasons. The Everglades is not simply large. It is designed, by accident or by something older than accident, to hide things. The water sits flat and dark. The sawgrass is tall enough to close over an animal the size of a man. The levees and roads that cut through the system give access only in narrow lines, and between those lines, the interior of the wetland is effectively unreachable on foot. Temperature sits warm most of the year. Prey is dense. Water is everywhere. A Burmese python in the Everglades does not need to move much. It can spend days without shifting position. It digests slowly. It does not need to eat frequently. A single large meal can sustain an adult for weeks. This means that even a python with a radio transmitter, even one that researchers are actively tracking, can be nearly impossible to locate in terrain that swallows GPS coordinates and offers no line of sight. The real problem was not the snake's size. The real problem was that the Everglades gave it everything it needed, including invisibility. And the animals living there had no instincts built for it. Native species in Florida evolved inside a particular set of threats. They recognized the alligator. They knew the bobcat. They had physiological and behavioral responses calibrated over generations to the predators that were actually present. The Burmese python was not present. There was no fear response, no evasion instinct, no alarm behavior passed from parent to offspring. Raccoons, opossums, rabbits, deer, they encountered these snakes the way they encountered a fallen log. By the time the distinction was clear, it was too late. The Everglades did not just receive a snake, it received a predator without the old rules around it. The data that came back from wildlife surveys was not subtle. In areas where Burmese pythons had become established, mammal populations collapsed. Raccoon sightings dropped by over 99% in some surveyed zones. Marsh rabbits and opossums registered similarly. White-tailed deer, which can outrun almost any threat in the Everglades, became prey. Wading birds, spoonbills, herons, and egrets lost eggs and chicks to snakes moving silently through rookeries. American alligators, which have no serious natural predators as adults, were being consumed by pythons of comparable or greater size. None of this happened because the python is an aggressive animal. It happened because the python is an efficient one, and because nothing was checking it. No disease, parasite, or native predator appears to be suppressing adult numbers at the scale needed. The limits that would matter in its home range are weaker here, or missing entirely. The scariest thing about the python is not what it can kill in a single encounter. It is what disappears after years of it killing quietly. The absence itself became evidence. Roads that once produced eyeshine at night became quieter. The animals did not vanish in one dramatic event. They disappeared in pieces. One nest, one burrow, one canal bank, one silent patch of grass at a time. By the time the absence was visible, the snakes had been in the system for decades. Florida launched a response. Programs were created. Hunters were hired and trained. Competitive events were organized to bring in additional hands. People drove the levee roads at night with flashlights, scanning the banks of canals. They waded into areas that required physical courage to enter at all, and came out with snakes coiled over their shoulders, sometimes after searching for 12 hours to find a single animal. The work is real. Every snake removed is real. A large female removed before she lays a clutch of eggs, which can number in the dozens, represents a reduction in the next generation. That math is not nothing. But it is also not winning. The estimates of the current python population in South Florida range into the tens of thousands, possibly higher. The snakes are not distributed evenly across the landscape. They are not standing in the road. They are in the interior, in the water, underground, motionless in ways that defeat almost every detection method humans can apply from the outside. Thermal imaging helps in certain conditions and fails in others. Dogs trained to find python scent have been deployed with some success. Researchers have used radio-tagged scout males to track females during breeding season. Environmental DNA, genetic material left behind in water samples, can now confirm presence in areas without a single visual sighting. These are serious tools. They represent a shift in the war, from hunting to detection, from reaction to understanding. But none of them, in any combination currently available, adds up to a path towards eradication. The snakes are too distributed, the terrain too large, the biology too suited to waiting out any pressure humans can apply. The hunters are not failing because they are weak. They are fighting an animal designed to be unseen. There is a version of this story that makes the python into a monster and Florida into a victim. That version is easier. It has a clear villain. But the Burmese python did not choose Florida. It did not plan an invasion. It found a warm place with abundant prey and no effective predators to stop it, and it did exactly what its biology told it to do. It ate, it hid, it reproduced, it waited. Every python in the Everglades right now is doing completely natural. The only unnatural about this situation is the mechanism that put it there. Humans moved this animal. Humans sold it, bought it, kept it, released it, and lost it. Humans did not build the warmth of the water. The Everglades already had those. What humans built was the pipeline that carried the snake into them. The trade, the cages, the releases, the escapes, and the belief that something this powerful could remain just another pet. The snake is not breaking the rules of nature. The snake is following them exactly, in a place where those rules were never meant to apply to it. That is the problem that does not have an easy ending. You cannot deport an animal from a landscape it has occupied for 30 years. You cannot undo the evolutionary mismatch between a native prey base and a predator they were never prepared to recognize. You can fight the consequences, and people are fighting them, and that fight matters. But the thing that caused this, the casual assumption that a 15-foot constrictor from Southeast Asia was something you could own, something you could manage, something small enough to contain, that cannot be undone either. It was sold as a pet. Florida met it as a system.